Like I told you before, there was a guy, a houseman, a cooker who lived with us when I was staying with my grandparents. My grandfather had been given him by a policeman back in 1980. After my grandfather retired, this houseman kept living with us wherever my grandparents moved. The odd thing about him was that he'd work for 6 months, then disappear for 6 months. At first my grandfather used to get really angry. Where does he go? He'd vanish for half the year and then come back. When my mom and uncle asked him where he went, he said he'd go off with his son-in-law. Even when they confronted him, everyone just cooled off, and that was that. Still, year after year the pattern continued, 6 months on, 6 months gone. After my dad passed away, we moved in with my grandparents. This was around 2001-2002. The house layout was like this. The houseman's room was right to the front, to the left as you came in. On the ground floor lived my grandparents, and on the first floor were my family and my uncle's family. It didn't matter if there were 50 people or 10, or whether you had cameras or not, the people just lived there and the food was always good. The houseman's name was Mohammed Ali. He was from a nearby area. Like I said, he would disappear and reappear every 6 months. I remember one time my sister went to the US. My grandparents and uncle were in Canada, and it was just me and my brother at the house. Nights, I'd get home late because I was doing radio stuff then. My sister used to make meals during the day, but at night I'd be coming home around 2 or 3 a.m. and she couldn't prepare anything then, so I'd make instant stuff in the kitchen in noodles, macaroni or whatever I could. I'd go into the kitchen and cook. To give you a quick mental map of the house, you enter through the gate into a small foyer. To the left is a narrow lane that goes toward Muhammad Ali's room. If you keep going straight from the gate, there's a small door to the living room on the left. Facing the front, there was a big door that opened into a long lounge. Inside the lounge was another door into the kitchen. There were 2 more rooms, and from the living room you could go to the staircase that spiraled up to the first floor. At the top of the stairs, the first thing you saw was a tiny kitchen, then the rest of the rooms and a terrace. So one night, around 3 a.m, I get home, go upstairs to change clothes, and head to the kitchen to make something. While I'm there, I see, out of the corner of my eye, what looked like a little kid coming down from my room area toward the ground floor. It was literally for a couple of seconds. You know how your eyes catch something and you double take. I saw a little hand or a figure as someone made the U-turn down the stairs. I thought at first it was my younger brother. We both lived there, so I rushed down to check. Peeking into the ground floor from the stairs, the whole living room area was dark. Obviously nobody was supposed to be there. I was tired, sleepy, and kind of spooked. Then 3 or 4 days later the same thing happened. I was making food in the kitchen and I saw someone again, but this time I heard running footsteps, then a sort of high, childish giggle. Kids laugh like that when they're playing, but this was a proper sound. It made it creepier. At first I tried to be logical. There was a small ventilation window in a kitchen that faced the house next door. That building has a big family with a lot of kids. I told myself it must be the noises travelling through the walls. But after a while, with the house empty most of the time because my grandparents were away for those 6 months, the strange sounds kept happening. One night I thought, screw it, I'll go out on the terrace, have a smoke, listen to some music. I had a little portable speaker and some blues playing. The night was nice and breezy, plants around it was peaceful. Suddenly I heard the front door of the house downstairs open, that heavy creak, and then the sound of the latch being closed. I thought someone had broken in. My brother was asleep in his room, and I knew it was just the 2 of us in the whole house. I panicked and went to peek downstairs. It was pitch dark. It was around 2 or 3 a.m, and I was worried we had an intruder. Then I heard footsteps coming, and to my surprise I saw an older man, wearing a prayer cap, walking toward the houseman's room. He opened the door, went inside, and the door shut behind him. For a second I thought, kaboom, we're done for. I was mouthing prayers, telling myself the house was being robbed. But when I went down and opened the door, the man greeted me. It was Muhammad Ali. He'd come back. He laughed and said, "Don't worry, I came in to pray." Honestly, I was so relieved I felt foolish for being afraid. Now, one important thing about the house. When we first moved in, there was no camera. Later, a small camera was installed and not some fancy motel CCTV, just a tiny camera near the living room area that could see into Muhammad Ali's small attached washroom and his window. So the living room window looked right into his area. On another evening, I was sitting on the terrace around Maghrib time and noticed the door of the room across from us was open. Someone walked past the front gate and into that small lane. I figured it must be one of Muhammad Ali's prayer partners from the mosque. A little while later, after I'd been smoking and watching the street, Muhammad Ali himself walked down the lane, walked up to the gate, and told me he was on his way back from prayer. I waved him off. His house was literally 2 doors down from the mosque. He hurried off. I stayed on the terrace for maybe 10 minutes, smoking nervously, and then I saw Muhammad Ali come back again. He opened his door and went inside. I asked him if anyone had come out of his room, asked him if anybody had entered our house from that direction. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, I was out for prayers, nobody came in." He said it without laughing, like he was serious. A few nights later, after my show ended, I came home and was headed toward my room when I heard someone laughing downstairs. This wasn't a normal laugh, it was eerie. I tried to ignore it and went up, but when I got to the first floor, I heard the pots and pans clattering in the kitchen downstairs like someone was rummaging. That noise freaked me out more than anything. I went down to check. Doors, windows, cupboards, everything was locked and intact. No sign of anyone, no rodents, no nothing. I checked the kitchen, the windows, the doors all shut. I went back upstairs with my heart pounding. A little while later I went back to the balcony. It was about 3 in the morning. From up there I could hear that faint laugh again. It wasn't Muhammad Ali's voice. His room's light was off, and yet this laugh came from that area. This time I was in investigative mode, but I was pissed off. In our neighborhood, if anything weird happened, the blame would fall on our household. We were young and everyone was watching us. So I went down to the ground floor. I opened the door to Muhammad Ali's room. It had a steel latch and had looked inside. There was absolutely nobody there. The bed was neat, the room was dark. It felt like he hadn't been home all evening. I convinced myself he had gone out for prayer and would be back. But the laugh I'd heard had come from near the gate and the lane, covering about 5 to 10 meters, and it was clear, like someone had been standing there. That was the first time I started to think maybe something else was going on. A few days later I told Muhammad Ali about these incidents of the strange sounds, the laughter, the doors opening and closing. He just smiled and made light of it. But there was another older man who worked for us, our driver, Monadin. He came around once a week to check and help. He'd been with our household for 20 plus years, practically seen me grow up. So I talked to him and told him what had been happening, the noises, the footsteps that happened when Muhammad Ali had supposedly been away, that chilling laugh. Monadin took it seriously for a moment and then said something that stuck. He told me that Muhammad Ali had dealings with jinn. He said people talked to them, that he'd seen signs. He warned me bluntly, if you ever hear those sounds, don't go down. Ignore it. If you insist on going down and confronting it, you'll cause trouble for yourself. He said it in a way like, I'm warning you, don't go poking around at night. So that was the advice I got. Ignore the voices, don't go looking for them, and don't provoke whatever is there.